Hello guys, what's up? So today's video, I thought we should continue the Mythbuster video. And for this video, since it's number 15, we're going to do an old world species. Why not we go revisit an old friend of ours? The King Baboon. Heck, I totally forgot this one. This is the most common one that people love to have in their collection. So why not if I give a detailed video on that, shall we? So, 9 topics on the board, so let's get started. So the common name, thankfully there's only one of them, it's called the King Baboon. Some people refer to KB for shortened abbreviations, which is pretty good. Okay, the Latin name, so this is kind of controversial. So the former name of this species was called Cytheraceus crocheti. Now, since it's been redescribed and made in effect in June 2010, now it's called P.muticus. So the pronunciation of this goes as follows: P.muticus. So it's very similar. It's a very easy Latin name to pronounce. Versus this one here, it's a Cytheraceus crocheti. So why the recent name change? Well, this was an old book of mine that I first used when I started collecting my tarantulas. So, it gives you about terrarium setups. This is actually a German book that was translated. So we have copulation with A. metallica, pinch grab method that I use. So here's one of them. That's a King Baboon. That's a male regalis. Yeah, it's actually a pretty good book. But it's very outdated now since it's more than 20 years old. So let me go to the King Baboon and I'll show you why they decide to rename it P.muticus. Well, the book is telling us that the species have been classified in another genus and species because the males tend to lose their robust hind legs as they mature out. So this is possibly the reason why it's been misidentified all these years. So probably Cytheraceus crocheti was a standalone name and they just went along with it until it was rediscovered by the taxonomists. So this is the main reason why there was such a name change. So a lot of people still use the Cytheraceus crocheti now, just like they've been using Grammostola striata to tell out the Grammostola pull stripe. So this species is no longer valid, so we have to use P.muticus. So if you ever see T's around these two names, these are the same exact specimen. Okay, so now about the cost, the availability, the lifespan, and the growth rate. Okay, so the cost of the species, not gonna lie, it's pretty expensive, at least here in Canada. My specimen, well, I did get it for free from Paul, but Tarantula Canada sells 1-inch unsexed spiderlings for around $50, and a 3-inch ones go for at least $100. That's for at least captive bred, but you could probably end up getting a wild caught adult female for around $100 to $150, depending on the pet store that sells them. Okay, so the lifespan. So this is very untypical of most baboons since they're a very fast growth rate. Since they have a very fast growth rate and they have a tendency to have a shorter lifespan. But the lifespans of King Baboons are very long, just similar to the Brachypelma and the Grammostolas. So females will probably live in excess of 20 to 25 years, and males will live at least, I would give or take 10 to 12. So the growth rate, just because that I mentioned that have an incredibly long lifespan, these guys grow slow. It's like pouring molasses into a cup and just waiting how long it takes for it to completely empty. That's pretty much the growth rate. So the maturity of these specimens, they would take, like the Phonopelma species, at least 8 to 10 years before they mature out. So Since Alice, right here, since I showed her on Friday, this video, so here's her. She's around 2 inches at the moment, so I'm sure it'll take at least a good 6 years before she becomes a maximum size. So now about the sizes, the mature males and the mature females. So this one here is a 2-inch, looks to be suspect female. So King Baboons are the second largest African species available. They grow in excess of having a 8 to 9 inch leg span. So that's pretty cool. The first one that's the largest in Africa, but I really can't ever see a specimen on this available in the hobby, is said to be Hysterocrates hercules, having a 9 to 10 inch leg span, making it the largest African species. But since I've never seen them in the hobby, so we're not sure if this is a valid species. Okay, so the mature male, so I have Tarantula Canada's gallery here. So this is the main difference between the two. So first we'll go on to the mature male. So they have a rusty orange brown color to them, just like the females. But would you have noticed that the males are a lot smaller than the females? The males will probably have at least a 5.5 inch leg span versus 9 inches for a mature female. So as you notice that the species does not look like it has tibial hooks, but it certainly does have bulbous pedipalps. And you notice this is the reason why they don't have the hind legs. Now comparing it to the mature female, you can see the prominent hind legs, and they're much more larger and much more heavier built than the male. So this is why I'll explain to you about their matings and their difficulty. Okay, so the enclosure setup. Well, pretty much you keep slings in a pill jar with a lot of substrate. So this is what I house my 2-inch female. It's just a little small critter keeper that I got from the dollar store, the insect ones. And I just put a lot of substrate. Eco Earth is my top choice with a small water dish. As look at adults, you'll probably want to build a cage probably similar to the one shown here. Such as this one here, the Selenocosmia species. I thought we should get this one out. So you can notice the size difference. So I would probably fill it up, substrate up to here, since it's a burrowing species, and add a water dish. I'll just take a video of her after, so hopefully she doesn't leave our site. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So the care sheet video, well, the temperature and humidity, of course, so 75 to 85 degrees is pretty typical of what you should be keeping at. Since P.muticus king baboons are naturally seen in Kenya and Tanzania, you might want to keep the substrate slightly moist, like I shown you when I first videoed her. And that's pretty much it, and I always have a water dish. So the temperament of these guys, well, as you probably can see, most king baboons are highly aggressive specimens. They do not possess urticating hairs, so they rely more on their biting, and their venom is highly strong, so I really don't suggest handling this species. So what this species can do is stridulate, as I demonstrated in the earlier video when I first took her. Hopefully maybe I can demonstrate it. I really don't want to stress this specimen, but I thought I should do this for educational reasons. So here's the P.muticus, so I'm just going to touch her just a bit. So I'm not sure if you guys hear that. So you could right away tell that's an aggressive specimen, and the hissing is just really amazing on this species. Okay, so now about the breeding of the specimen. It's very difficult to actually get a intact sac. Well, actually, the mating process is actually much more difficult than what you would expect, just because of the sheer size of the female and the small male. The male is very nervous of the female, which of course he has almost every right to be nervous. But the real problem is that the female is slightly aggressive towards the male, and because that the male has to lift up the female and inject his sperm into the female spermathecae, the matings almost always fail because the weight of the female will instantly crush the male. So this is why it's very difficult to actually mate these spiders. But if you do have a successful mating attempt, I would probably assume that you'll probably have around 40 to 100 little spiderlings. So overall recommendations, so it's a very cool species to own, one of the classic icons in the hobby next to the OBT. I don't suggest owning this species as your first one because it's certainly not a beginner species, just because of their highly aggressive nature and also because of their bad venom that they possess. So overall, a great species to own, even though it's a pet hole of mine. It's one of the largest ones that I ever have. So hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and thanks for watching.